Hi, my name is TJ. My dad died of overdose on January 1st, 2011, and my mom is a recovering addict. God helped my mom, and now together we are here to help you. Now let's talk recovery. Here's your host, my mom, Susan Sexton-Wood.
Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I'm Debbie Lahman, and I'm your host for today. And today, I am here with your regular host. I started to say co-host because we're co-hosting today, but with your regular host, Susan Sexton-Wood. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Don't you just love it when we change chairs
Yeah,
and
I
all
do.
this? Yeah. Well, anyway, what I was thinking about today for our program, and we were just talking about this, it seemed like 2 or 3 minutes ago, but we've talked about this often. And that is, of course, what Unchained Praises does is to be able to offer the one-on-one sessions or recovery coaching that we talked about. And we were talking about that as opposed to group meetings. And you had some thoughts on that because they're different, very different, because you're in a group setting where one-on-one is just you with the individual. Mm-hmm. Tell our audience about that. What do you see as the differences? And I'm sure that one's not better than the other, I would imagine, but I'll let you answer that.
Well, some people just like to be in a group setting. And in a group setting, you're not really called out to talk. You can just sit there and be a part of the group without really saying anything if you don't want. Mm-hmm. And in a one-on-one, you have to talk. And so I think that probably 80% of people, and this is just me and my own guesstimate, 80% of people like the group meetings, and there's about a 20% of people who don't like group meetings, but they rather have a one-on-one.
Now, Unchained Praises, initially, we had group meetings. Mm-hmm. You called them peer support groups.
Yeah.
And we've kind of gone from there to the one-on-ones. Why did you do that?
Well, we weren't getting a lot of people coming to the meetings, and it's hard for one person to do a lot. And so
sure.
It was me running the meeting, me doing the one-on-ones, and so
kind of became a little too much even for you to be able to do things. Okay, yeah. I see that. When you have, and let's tell in order to maybe clarify things a little bit, how do the one-on-ones run, and why would you encourage somebody to do that? And I know you do not discourage still going to meetings.
Yeah,
because you still do that yourself.
Yeah, we encourage meetings because recovery is about the lifestyle change. It's everything combined into one. It's about your job. It's about your family life. It's about your meetings. It's about your hobbies. It's putting everything together. With the one-on-ones, it's really up to the person coming to the one-on-ones how long they want to stay. I'm not a counselor, and we even have people sign a document that says that we're not drug and alcohol counselors, so we don't want to pry things out of anybody. I know for me, when I've gone to counseling myself, and if I'm kind of forced to talk about something that I'm not really ready for, that can lead to relapse. So we don't want to do that.
Okay.
But it's really up to the person how long they want to stay in the one-on-ones. And it's what they want to talk about. So we're just an outlet for someone to talk about, and we want to help them build structure. We want to help them understand accountability, and we want to help them set boundaries and learn how to set boundaries. We want to help them with goals so they can set goals to keep moving forward in their recovery.
Can you necessarily do that in a group setting? I mean, do you get that in depth in group settings as you do on a one-on-one?
You could do that, but the one-on-ones are confidential. And meetings are, there's sayings at meetings that what is said here stays here. But a lot of people, when you're coming out of addiction, you really don't trust a lot of people. So there's things that you would talk about in a one-on-one that you just wouldn't talk about in a group setting.
Okay, all right. So there's definitely, and I agree with you. I think that there's a place for both.
Yeah.
And I know that the thing that I have learned so much in working with you, in particular, where the one-on-ones are, and we always call them one-on-ones. It's it is a coaching, not a counseling,
Right.
but it's a coaching, and just as a coach does on a team, a sports team, is you give them here's the plays that we need to make in order to either shoot the basket or make the, I'm not real good with sports analogies, so whatever the sports is, but there is always a coach that's laying out the plan,
Right.
and then helping the team player, the people on the team to get there, and that's what you do, of course, as a coach. But you have to have a plan. And it really does need to be individual. Mm-hmm. Do you also sometimes, and again, I am not discounting groups in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to allow our viewers to be able to see what the difference is and why they're both important, because they are.
Right.
Both of them are important. However, in relationship to the groups, like you said, sometimes you can't share what you might need to share. Did you find when you had the group meetings that there were maybe even the same people that didn't participate, didn't respond, and those are the ones you want to help?
Yeah.
The ones that are free to talk and share whatever's on their hearts or whatever. Again, I don't know how a meeting is ran. They're easier in a sense, or maybe they're not.
Yeah, I mean, some people just feel comfortable talking, but some people don't feel comfortable talking. So it's really about the comfort of the individual.
Well, and I've known from being there in the office and with you and Steph, who works in our office as well, both of you being recovering addicts, how absolutely important the meetings are to you. I mean, it is such a part of your life. It does not end, just because you're sober and you've gone through or you're in recovery. That is continual. That isn't, there's not a date here, and when you reach that date, then you get your Mouseketeer ears, you're just fine.
Right.
It doesn't work that way
No.
at all. Now, along that same thought process of the individual coaching, the one-on-ones, you are in, just so that our audience knows, we do have two offices that you're in. One of them, of course, is our Richmond office. And tell them the time schedule there and where you are, both here and the other office.
The Richmond office is located at 318 National Road West. You have to make an appointment for the most part so that we know that you're coming. But we are there from 9 to 2 on Tuesday and Wednesday. You can also make an appointment on Friday because I'm kind of in and out on Friday also. In Winchester, we're located at 216 South Meridian on the second floor. And I am there Mondays and Thursdays, again, about 9 to 2, but call for an appointment. It's just easier that we know that you're coming.
And when they call, they actually talk to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're not calling an office to where the office is, scheduling an appointment. It's you.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I wanted our audience to also realize, is that the number that they see on our screen is directly to you.
Yes.
And it doesn't go to any office or anything like that.
And they can message us on Facebook, and it comes directly to me too.
As well as our website.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
website.
because our website also has a place on where it says contact us, and you can actually go in there and you can email us.
Yeah.
Whatever's on your heart. If you need us to contact you, whatever that is, you can do that, and then of course that goes straight through as well.
Yeah.
So there's different ways that they can contact us.
Yeah.
Now that being said, another area that well, there's a couple of areas that I've been kind of excited about that we're doing, and that is the Smart Library that we're in the process of getting all of the material to be able to have that in. Now that will only be in the Richmond office.
Yes.
It will not be in the Winchester office.
Yes.
It'll just be in the Richmond office. And tell our audience what the purpose of the Smart Library is.
Well, it's any materials that you want to learn more about your addiction, that will be there. If someone needs, say they just come in from active addiction and they're starting their life over, a lot of people lose the necessary forms of ID that we need to successfully live in the world today. Birth certificate, social security card, and ID. We want to help them with those steps to regain all of that. And that's a place where it's going to be a comfortable place to come and just utilize the computer and the materials that's going to be there.
And that's at no cost.
No cost.
And of course, that's because we have donations and grants that support us to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because everything that we do, the booklets that we make to be able to hand to each person that we're doing the recovery coaching to, as well as our brochures that talk about us and what we do, and those types of things, they cost money to be able to print them. Our overhead cost is very minimal, and so we're fortunate to do that, but it still costs us.
Yeah.
The other thing that we are also excited about that we have not journeyed into yet, but we want to, and that is to be able to do what we have been calling a lunch and learn or a seminar. And a seminar is a little bit longer than a lunch and learn. And let's tell our audience what those entail.
Well, the workshops or the lunch and learns, it's just us coming in, doing a presentation, the 5 stages of change to help individuals understand.
Now, when you say come in where?
Well, we want to go into businesses.
That's what I'm wanting you to say. I knew that, of course, but I wanted to get her to say that.
The goal is to do that, go into businesses and do the presentation, and then
well, let's stop there for just a second. Let's just park right there. We, of course, have no idea who all watches these programs.
Right.
But if there are businesses out there and they catch this program, what is it that we want when we say we want to come there? And I know what it is, but we want to come there and present it. How is that going to be good and beneficial for the business person or the owner or the HR person in that company?
Well, there's so many people that struggle with addiction, and a lot of the people that struggle with addiction are in the workforce. There's family members that their loved ones struggling with addiction and they don't know what to do. So the goal would be to come in and do the lunch and learn during the lunch break, where people are eating their lunch and they have 30 minutes. We would take 30 minutes to do a presentation and stick around a little bit after that for people who might want to come up and talk to us individually. And so we want to help them understand all of the changes that someone goes through when they're from active addiction to recovery.
Because that can be very, very expensive for a business.
Yeah.
A business owner or even a big company, happens to be located, in Wayne County or Randolph County, the surrounding counties, of course, any of them. Because when they have to either let somebody go, then they have to hire somebody else that's new.
Right.
Or if it is a loved one of an addict that has to keep missing work because of their loved one that's in addiction, and if we can do something to be able to help that. So I think that's what we can do when we're talking about what can we do, for you, Mr. Businessman, Miss Businessman, Miss Businesswoman. Let me get that right. But I mean, that's what we can do for them, is to be able to do that, because when you go through the 5 stages, sometimes people, that sounds a little bit like, yeah, that's book stuff. But they're explained very clearly and easily, where sometimes somebody might not be realizing, oh, she's in this stage, he's in this stage.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
So that's where we can do with those lunch and learns that we're calling. Now, a seminar is a little bit longer, and we do a little bit more with the seminars, such as if we would go to a church maybe and hold a presentation. And we're not talking about during the time frame of a worship service.
Right.
We're talking about something else that church wants us to come in there for their congregation to be able to share with them. And just like we've done with our events in the past, or our rallies, or You're Not Alone rallies that we used to have, to be able to bring in other people. Talk about that, how those work, be it for those that maybe pastors that are watching, or clubs such as Rotary, Kiwanis, something like that.
Well, it would be whatever time would be good for them. It doesn't have to be on a Sunday. We could come in during a weekday,
Sure.
And just share the PowerPoint presentation, and we would bring our information that will help individuals find maybe the facility that they need. The parents that don't understand, we can help them. We can help them understand a little bit more of what addiction does to someone when they're in addiction.
Do you think people today, we've been bombarded by education where drugs are concerned, but do you think that they're really getting it, or do you think they become maybe numb to it and just kind of, oh yeah. Kids have that in school and they think that they know that it's done. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it can go either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I was thinking in particular, when you're a loved one of an addict, I guess my mind is going down that road right now, in thinking about the loved one who has to feel just as alone and helpless as the addict does. And I think that's one of the things that you do so well when you're doing the coaching, the one-on-one coaching, because you've been that addict, you've been there, and when they think they're helping and they're not, they're enabling.
Right.
And I know you've spoke to that in the past, but those are things that you would go over in the seminar to say, this is what's available and this is what we're doing. I wanted to kind of tie that up and not get off on that particular area, right now. But those are things that having that brought to a business, having that brought to a club, having that brought to even schools. You've even spoken schools, am I correct?
Yeah, we've spoke at a couple schools.
Yeah, talk about that for a second.
Well, we went in and there was a group of us. We had music to kind of ease the tension. And then I had a couple people speak about their life and addiction. And then I got up and I spoke about my own addiction and how we can overcome the addiction.
And what schools did you do that in?
We did it here in Richmond at Dennis, and then we did it at Randolph County High School or middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Because that's something else that we want to throw out there, that you have done that. So we've been into some of the schools. It would be a great idea to go into more,
Yeah.
you know, because that's another thing that you're talking about with children. There are a lot of children who have addict parents.
Yeah.
Some that are addicts themselves, the children are, but those that, and we had at one time, we even had a peer group for children. And that went along, you know, pretty well. But just as things with anybody, but kids in particular, they get involved in other areas and they don't have time.
Yeah.
So that kind of happens there. And that's the way it is with all of us. We all have different seasons in our lives, and we have different things that come in, and you just don't have time to a degree. But you, again, if we're going to talk and use your life, you know, you've had, you know, 3 boys that you've raised. And, you know, there's been a difference between the first 2 and the last one in how you're raising. Am I correct?
Yeah. I was in addiction with the first 2.
Yeah. So how do you feel in contrast to where you are with TJ?
I'm involved.
Because before you weren't.
Yeah. I mean, I would say then that I was involved, but when you're in addiction, your mind is in the addiction, and it's wrapped completely around it. So even though I was present, I wasn't mentally there for my kids.
And again, that brings us back to us wanting to get into businesses, clubs, schools, because you know from personal experience that when you're in it and you think that you're existing, you think, I know Steph has spoke about this, she always, we kind of, not jokingly of course, but said that she was a functioning addict.
Yeah.
So she held down very good jobs and did well. But there always comes that time when they cross the line and they stop functioning as well as they should.
Yeah.
And as well as they did. So for a time, it's a false sense of, oh, I'm doing great and the drugs are helping me because I'm just doing wonderful, because, you know, I can do more because I have my drugs, you know. And so all of that, again, together, those are all things that you have gone through. That is the whole purpose that you established Unchained Praises, is that you want to be the help to those people that are trying to get out. Because I don't think that I've ever met any addict that wants to stay in it. Now, there's a part of the addiction that compels you to stay in it.
Yeah.
And so you do have sort of a bit of a desire that you want to. But that's just the drug.
Yeah.
And you know it as an addict that it's the drug, don't you?
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah,
about that for a
'cause
second.
We become trapped in the addiction. We become trapped, and even though we don't want to do it, we continue to do it. When it comes to opiate addiction, it's because there's a sickness that comes with it, and if you're without the drug, then you're going to go through a withdrawal, and that will keep us in addiction a lot.
Well, and you know, I remember a good friend of, I'm going to say a friend of ours, he's a little closer to you than me, but I'm not going to mention any names at this particular point. But I remember him saying to us one time that he so desired and needed the needle.
Yeah.
Did you experience that as well? Or
Yeah,
not?
I was addicted to the needle too.
Do you think people
It's the
understand that?
routine. It's the routine. Now today, because I've changed so much, I mean, the thought of sticking myself is, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But then, I mean, it was over and over again. I would stick myself because I would be sick if I didn't.
Right, right. Well, and that's what we're trying to do through Unchained Praises, is to be able to have resources available to be able to go into businesses, to be able to go into churches. That's another thing we had talked about here. We just had here recently, I say recently, it was just last month, that we had a luncheon for pastors, and we invited every pastor in Wayne County, every one of them.
Yeah.
And we unfortunately only had a handful. And our whole point there is to just say, hey, we want to be the person that when you as the pastor of a church, you're counseling with somebody and they have issues, and spiritually, yes, they can certainly help them, and that's what their job is, that's what we want them to do.
Yeah.
But those other areas, we want them to partner with Unchained Praises so that we can then help them, because I've heard you say this 100 times at least, that recovery is a lifestyle change.
Yes.
It is not for in a month I'm done. And that is extremely important. I've seen it in your own life, that where you watch what you do, and there's times where you do things you're not proud of and you're not happy about, and you make mistakes. Praise God, it's never been going back into addiction.
Right.
But it could be something else. It could be anything, you know. And that's where you come in. I've kind of been there, done that, lived it. I'm going to tell you straight. And that's exactly what you do. Go ahead now and share your heart with what it is that you want to be able of people to coming to see you. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, you know, living in addiction and struggling with for as many years as I did, I don't want other people to do that. I want people to find freedom from addiction. And so to help people, encouraging them, listening to them, and motivating them, educating them, is something that I have a heart for today. We want to help you and fight with you. We want to walk right beside you, right where you are, and help you continue to just move forward without the use of alcohol and drugs.
Well, we have to be so careful nowadays, and I'm not laying blame on the medical field, but I am laying blame on the medical field.
Yeah.
Because when we have an injury, we have heard that so many times, somebody gets injured and they end up having to have pain pills, painkillers, whatever. And that's fine, that's good, but it has to be controlled,
Right.
as with everything is. And that's what we're saying, is that we want to be there to help them. And you have done a wonderful job with that. And you're such an encouragement and such a blessing to everybody that you've ever talked with. And we know that it's not an easy road.
No.
You and I have talked about that many, many times. And because you have done it, you know that it is. You know the rewards of it as well. And that's what we want to share with everybody else, is the fact that there is hope. We've said many times we're the voice of hope, and we are the voice of hope. And that's what Unchained Praises is here for, to be able to help you, to give you hope, to give you encouragement. And we want to thank you for joining us tonight, and let us know if we can help you.